Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I It's time for March's reading wrap up, and to be quite honest, I haven't read as much as I thought I would. I did much better reading in February than I did in March. So far I've read 36 books, and I think I'm on the edge of a reading slump, to be quite honest, because while I do want to read, I just haven't been wanting to actually read, if that makes any sense. It's like I do want to read, but it's like I can't actually read. So I haven't read that much. I think I read 10 books in March, which isn't that bad, but it wasn't an amazing reading month. It started really well and then kind of just went downhill when the reading slump started to happen. Anyway, we're going to dive right into it. I read 10 books. I didn't DNF any books, but I did have a couple books that were a little bit disappointing, which was a shame, that I had pretty high hopes for. I do think April has the potential to be a really an amazing reading month because I did just do my April TBR and I pulled some amazing books that I'm really freaking excited for my April TBR. And I think if they all go as well as I think they're going to go, I'm going to have a lot of new 5-star god tier books, and I'm really excited for that. But let's dive into all the books I read in March. First, I read The Hunter's Gambit by Seal Polo. This had been on my TBR for so long, and I finally read it. This is a vampire read. I would say it's a fantasy, then the romance is like a much smaller plot, but the first and foremost, it is a vampire fantasy book. I really enjoyed it. The vampires in here were very interesting. I really liked the FMC. She felt really real because she made mistakes that a normal person would, and she didn't just believe everything she was fed and kind of made mistakes to work out what the truth was, and I really enjoyed that. But I did start to lose interest towards the end, which is why I ended up rating this 3.5. Maybe it was because my reading slump was starting, or I don't know, but I just felt like my attention was wavering towards the middle part. It wasn't grasping me as much as I thought. This is more like a wide choose romance, I would say. But I really enjoyed like the whole the whole setup of the vampires and their world and what she was thrown into and how the FMC was navigating that situation. It felt very believable, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I do think I'll pick up more books by this author in the future because I like the way she writes and that it's not so gullible. I read the second book in the Sins of the Zodiac series, Echo Fort by the Twisted Sisters. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this so much more than Neverkeep. I did think I would, because obviously the main problem I had with Neverkeep was the fact that it took so long to get used to the world. I have since learnt which I don't know how I didn't figure this out. Sins of the Zodiac is indeed based within the same universe as the Zodiac Academy. So there is an element of the authors expecting the readers to already be familiar with this world, because I'm guessing they would assume that you would read Zodiac Academy, but unfortunately I didn't do that. I just went into Sins of the Zodiac. But while it did take me like 30 or 40% of the first book to understand the world and kind of find my way navigating it, book 2 was so much better. I really enjoy these two FMCs. I love their POVs. I love the direction the plot is taking. It's very intriguing. I have so many questions. There are so many small little clues hidden within the lines of these characters' POV, and I'm like, is this going to mean something in the future? Like, how is this going to happen? You know, why is this so important? And I'm really, really enjoying that and putting all the clues together and trying to come up with theories. I love that part. And, you know, this is very much true enemies to lovers. I'm so excited for Cindervale. Cindervale is already out, but I don't know when my copy is coming. I might actually have to check, because the only place I could pre-order it was Amazon, and I don't love buying books from Amazon. I prefer to buy books from Waterstones because I get points, or Foils, or just like, oh, it's coming the 10th of April. I might check to see if Waterstones or Blackwells have it, because usually they do, and I think Blackwell's comes quite quick. So I'm going to check that. But yeah, I'm loving this series so far. I'm really falling into the world that the Twisted Sisters are creating. I'm loving Sins of the Zodiac. I loved hollow so freaking much. So I am very, very keen to read their other works, but it's like they have a million books out. They are writing so many books. I think Zodiac Academy has like 9 books, and they're not small. So I have no idea how I'm gonna read that, because to be quite honest, I don't have anywhere to fit a 9-book series, and a 9-book series is absolutely insane to me. So I don't know if I'll read some of their other works before diving into the whole Zodiac Academy thing. But yeah, I'm loving Sins of the Zodiac, and I'm so excited for Cindervale. I also read Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. This is the first book I've read by Rebecca Ross, and I really enjoyed it. It did take me a couple pages to fall into it, but when I did, I couldn't tear myself away. I was like gripping the book so hard. I was so entrenched in everything that was happening. I really enjoyed this. You're following a FMC who lives in a small village with her dad, and they are tasked to protect the village from nightmares. Now, there is something that happened in the past that created these nightmares. So now there are like magicians that are planted within each village, and their job is to combat and protect the villagers from these nightmares. And the nightmares happen every full moon, I think, or every new moon. I can't remember. But the magicians that are planted in these villages can also be challenged by other magicians wanting to take their place within that village. And that's what happened to her and her father. They are one day challenged by these brothers who want to take their place as the protectors. And unfortunately, things turn upside down for this FMC, and we are following her way, navigating that, trying to get revenge, and then just everything going very, very wrong for her, and a mystery erupting from that as to why that challenge even took place. And I really fell into it. It was so good. It was so interesting. I loved all the mystery behind it all, and just being able to follow the FMC on her journey and her kind of coming into herself now that she's no longer stuck in the village, and everything that comes with the past. It was very unique. It was very interesting. I definitely will be picking up other books by Rebecca Ross. I think she has a standalone called Sisters of Sword and Song. I think I might read this. It's her other standalone, because I really like the way she writes standalone. It's really good. It's not rushed. It feels complete, and the ending is somewhat satisfying. I mean, it does leave like a bit of imagination to happen, but I really enjoy it. I ended up rating this 4 stars. I don't think I even mentioned that. I rated this 4.5. It wasn't a 5-star, and then this a 4-star. Now, the biggest surprise for the month of March was Nightshade by Autumn Woods. I picked this up, first of all, because I thought it was paranormal romance. It is not. It is solely a romance in a university setting. So interesting. I can't believe how much I ended up loving this. I read this in one sitting. I could not physically tear myself away. I was eating up every single page. I was loving the interactions between the characters, and just everything that was happening behind the scenes, and the setting was so intriguing, and I really loved being this FMC's head. I am so excited for Daybreak. I unfortunately did not get an arc. I really, really wanted an arc, but I know that obviously arcs are very limited, and I just, I'll have to wait for the day of release, which is going to be in the next couple months, and I'm really, really excited for it. So I can't wait to see, because everything obviously turned upside down towards the ending. It has to end in a cliffhanger, and it ended on a brutal cliffhanger, and I have no idea like how we are going to get to a good place in book 2, but I'm really excited for the journey that's going to be. But I think I may be converted to a romance reader to some extent. Like this type of romance, I think I could definitely I definitely would love to continue reading, because I loved the nitty-gritty darkness of it. Souls in Ruin by Jacqueline White. I would probably say, without a doubt, this was the start of the month. Like, this was by the way, I'm really mad at this. Nightshade, I rated 5-star. If that wasn't clear, it was a resounding 5 stars. This was like the star. This gripped my heart, tore it out, and then just ripped it into pieces and tried to shove it back into my chest, and it just didn't fit. This book, I can't even put into words like what this book is. It's absolutely insane. I was sobbing my eyes out. I do have a reading vlog of me reading this. I was sobbing my eyes out. This was hard to read, but I loved it. I don't know what's wrong with us readers, but we love to be tortured and we love to be driven insane. I loved this. This was a 6-star god tier book without a doubt. I can't believe how much this impacted me. This is a dark, dark fantasy romance, so do be aware that going into it, read trigger warnings, because I will not lie to you. There are scenes in here that are very, very hard to read, but I loved the darkness of it. I loved how, you know, the journey of it wasn't easy and it wasn't rushed, and we really got to be along with the FMC and her reasonings and her kind of coming aware of things. It wasn't like this was another case of where the FMC was very, very believable. She made mistakes that a normal human woman would make, and just trying to navigate the sudden shift in her life. It was just, and then finding her power. Finding her power was just, the highlighting I did in this book, like the paragraphs and the sentences that just stood out to me and was just like captivating and heart-wrenching. I want to find one, because it was just like, I read it and I was like, that hit deep, that hit hard. There is no light left, I whispered, the admission scraping against my bruised lips. He's taken it all, piece by piece, night by night, and tonight the rest died in my throat. Like, I want to reread this again. It's hard and it's brutal, but there is just something so captivating about this book that you feel like you're right there along with the FMC. You feel like there are so many brutal moments and paragraphs that she has that is just like so relatable to life and just being a woman. It has been picked up to be traditionally released, and I think the first book is being released in November, which means the second book is not coming until 2027. That is going to be a really hard wait. I finished this and I was literally just staring numbnessly at the wall, because I was like, I'm not going to have the second book in my hands for a very long time, and that's hard. 1000% worth reading. I definitely think that this is a book that you need to have on your radar, on your TBR, that is going to absolutely change your brain chemistry and just hit you brutally hard, but it's just so worth it. What Blooms in Death by S.M. Gaither. I had a lot of high hopes for this, and while it was not a 5-star, I did think it was going to be a 5-star, but it just didn't quite hit. I feel like there were pieces of this that felt a bit long-winded, that could have been taken out and to shrink it down and really pack a punch, but I still really enjoyed the uniqueness of this world and how we were learning about the world along with the FMC and how everything was changing and the impact of everything and the mystery, and again also the relationship between these two characters, the journey they go through, and all the misunderstandings and the miscommunication that wasn't too like fucking annoying, because there are some miscommunication tropes that I just absolutely hate, because it just feels like so just like, no, this is too long-winded, this doesn't make sense, like just open your mouth and say what you need to say so that this could be over. But I really enjoyed this. I rated this a 4 stars. I will continue with the series because I think book 2 is going to be a lot better, but I would say that the one downside to this is that it is a little bit long-winded. I think there are certain scenes that could have been taken out. There are certain explanations and details that just weren't necessary and just added too much. I mean, it is a thick book, but we're following an FMC who has one-of-kind magic. She has shadow magic, death magic, but no one else in her kingdom has it, and she is being engaged to the Light King's son to cement the relationship between these two kingdoms, because they need the power that the Light Kingdom has to kind of help elevate themselves. Although she does not want to be married, she doesn't really have a choice because her kingdom comes first. And at the party to celebrate the engagement and to introduce the two, even though they'd met as kids, but kind of introduce them as adults, things go very wrong and her father ends up killed. She explodes, ends up freezing her entire kingdom, and people end up in the underworld. She wants to the only way to break the curse that's been put upon her kingdom is to take a hold of the Light Kingdom's sword, which ended up in the underworld. So we're following her on her journey to enter the underworld and find the sword to break the curse upon her kingdom. But things aren't what it seems, and a lot of information has been kept away from her as to what the underworld is and her place in it. And I really enjoyed just how everything exploded, and how I thought I had one theory in my head and then something completely different exploded from it, and I was just so surprised. It was really, really good, and I'm really excited for book 2 and to follow along the journey of these 2 characters that doesn't have the easiest romance. It's not like it's a journey. Next, I read Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kemmer. This is my second time reading a Bridget Kemmer book, and I've kind of stayed away from Bridget Kemmer's books because they don't seem to be suited for me. I've never really gotten along with them. But when I found out about her new adult debut and then it being the romantasy book pick for Fairy Lou, I was like, I'm gonna give her another try and see if maybe with her writing new adult, if that would be more suited for me. And while I enjoyed this and I didn't DNF it, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I completely forgot a lot of this. Like, I wasn't super intrigued, I wasn't super committed to the book or the story or the characters. I was just reading along with it for the fun of it. I was reading along for it solely for the characters' dynamics and their interactions, which really kept my interest. To be honest, nothing else really captivated me. And while it's been a few weeks since I read this, I could not tell you a single thing that happened in here. So I think that kind of tells you how I feel about this book. Because while I enjoyed it at the time, it didn't pack any sort of punch. It didn't stick with me. It wasn't anything special. It is a wide shoes romance. I think I initially rated this a 3 stars. But I think this is another case where this author's writing is just not suited for me. It's not something I kind of gravitate towards. So I would probably drop my rating to a 2.5. I did think that I would pick up the future books in the series, but to be honest, since it's been a few weeks and I've completely forgotten everything about it, I probably will not pick up future books in this series, because that would mean rereading this, and I just don't think it's worth it for me. So yeah, not great. But I'm glad I gave this author another try. Now I know for certain that no matter the genre, I'm just not the reader for this author. A really fun, exciting book that I read is The Shadows That Listen by Louisa Carmondi. It's set to be released in August 2026, and I can't believe how much I loved this. I was a teenager who loved to read books like House of Night, Fallen, and so many other books that just made up my childhood, who also Scudderry Pleasant, but Scudderry Pleasant is a very, very long series who I started reading at primary school, and there are still books coming out. But I'm talking about like my introduction to really romantic focused fantasy books that I absolutely binged the hell out of, was reading, who reread 1,000 times and just absolutely fell in love with romantasy from there. And to be able to read a book that was so reminiscent of that time of my life while also suiting the reader I am today, I didn't think was going to hit as hard as it did. But I was reading this and I was giddy and I was exciting, and it was bringing me back to that time of my life where I found romantasy, and just it changed my entire reading experience. Like, I used to be a reader who loved thriller and fantasy books, but now I would say that my library is pretty much taken up with like 75% romantasy, and I've never looked back. It was just such a it was an insane time of my life. This is a series that I am going to buy every single book of, and I know that I will binge and reread 1,000 times and never get bored, and still be so giddy and excited to be back in this world with these characters, with the romance. This is a dystopian fantasy romance with angels and demons and humans living in a post-apocalyptic world, and you're following an FMC who is a part of this I would say, I think like CIA, but made to protect humankind from angels and demons. Now I say angels and demons because the angels in this book is not like the angels you think of that you read in other books where they are good and they are supposed to like protect humanity. No, these angels have solely come onto Earth to defeat demons, to kill them. They've chosen Earth as their battleground and they don't care who's in the way. While they are made to protect humankind, if you're in the way of their battle, they will kill you. They are indiscriminate about killing. They only care about themselves. And it was insane how quickly I fell into this world. To have a dystopian world with angels and demons and humans who are just trying to find their place and to survive this battle. It was one of the most unique reading experiences I've had in a very, very long time. And I'm obsessed. I cannot wait for the future books in the series. I cannot wait to kind of fall into it and just finish like 5 books in one day. I probably won't actually finish 5 books in one day. When I was reading House of Night and Fallen, I would go without sleep until I read like 3 or 4 books in a row because I was just completely obsessed. Nothing else mattered. I would go without food, without sleep. I didn't care. Like, I just had to finish these books, and I know this is going to be no different, so I'm really, really excited. Lauren Kate, the author of Fallen, is coming out with her newest release, a new adult fantasy romance, and I'm just like, I am so excited. My jaw dropped when I saw these arcs, and I absolutely had to beg because 14-year-old me would die if I had an arc by an author that I absolutely loved as a teenager. It would just be such a full circle moment for me. I'm so excited for her newest release. I just can't wait for it to come out. Next, I read Our Vicious Oaths by N.E. Davenport. This is a romantasy standalone. This was really disappointing, and it's not because the writing was horrible or the characters didn't grip me. I was absolutely gripped by this till like 80% of the way through, and then it lost me. Unfortunately, a trope arrived that I absolutely hate and have DNF'd books from series that I've absolutely loved before. I can't stand this trope. It's not for me. I've never been a reader for it. I will DNF and unhaul books that have these tropes. I did finish this, but I skimmed a lot of it, to be quite honest, because I'm not a reader for this trope. I hate this trope. It's my own fault. I should have read the first page with the trigger warnings. I typically don't read trigger warnings because I don't really have anything that would kind of, I would need to read the trigger warnings for. And because I didn't read the trigger warnings, I did not know that this was something that happened. And to be honest, even from the trigger warnings, I wouldn't have really guessed that this would be something that would kind of pop up. But it did. And when I read it, I was like, oh shit, this changes everything, because this is no longer one of my favorite standalones that I can reread and just keep going back to. I was really disappointed. I think this would have been a 5-star if it didn't have this trope, because I absolutely fell in love with the world and the FMC and how fierce and determined and independent she was. Yeah, well, it is what it is, but I really recommend you read the trigger warnings and maybe have a look at the tropes. I don't know if it's mentioned anywhere of this happening, but I don't really want to spoil anything. But yeah, I think I ended up rating this 3.5, and that 3.5 is solely for the fact that the first 80% I absolutely loved. Yeah, pretty disappointed. I will definitely be reading more books by N.E. Davenport because I like the way she writes. Yeah. Last but not least, Rejected by Jamie Eve. I picked this up because I've been feeling on the edge of a reading slump, like I said, and I felt like I needed something really easy to fall into that I was going to just really want to binge. I think it was literally after having read The Shadows That Listen. I have had this hole that I just want, this craving for books like this that I could just binge the hell out of, that are fun, smutty, with a really good world building, unique take, all that stuff. And I haven't really found anything like that, but I did read this and I thought this would be perfect to try and get me out of a reading club. It's something new. It seems fun. The writing isn't the best, I will admit. Like, there are certain points that I was just like, this is repetitive or this is a bit boring. But I really enjoyed the FMC. I really enjoyed the romance. I loved the world. I think the world was a really fun, unique. I loved the library setting, of course. I mean, I am a reader. And I loved the smut. I absolutely love the smut. I have read all 3 books in this series. I read the last 2 in April, so it doesn't count towards this reading wrap up, but I really, really enjoyed this. It's fun. I feel like I'm going to reread this a lot because it's just something I could just fall into, fly through. I read this in one sitting. I flew through it. I was up till 4 in the morning reading this, and I have no regrets because this was just so much fun. And I probably will read more by Jamie Eve. I have her Spellcaster novel. I don't know if that's a standalone, to be honest. I don't think it is. I think it is a series, or there's like a spin-off within that book. I don't know. But I like her writing. I think it's a really fun, good time and nothing to be taken too seriously. So these editions are absolutely beautiful. This is a book that I would read if I had a Kindle, to be quite honest, because I don't need physical editions of this. I think I could just reread it on Kindle, but I don't have a Kindle. So unfortunately I did have to get the physical editions of these books, but I definitely will be reading more Jamie Eve books whenever I feel like I'm on the brink of a reading slump, or I just want something that I could just binge and fall through during the night. This is the writer for me. Anyway, those are all the books I read in March. Bit of a mixed reading month. Obviously, the star of the show was Souls in Ruins. That was absolutely insane, and I don't think I could ever move past that book. But I really hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.